And now we'll talk about sexism. And again, like I talked about for the lecture on racism, I will say that it is absolutely possible for men to experience sexism, like I pointed out in the very first video from this series. But most of the research on sexism is about women's experiences of sexism, so that's what we're going to be talking about in this lecture. But again, that does not imply that men cannot experience sexism. So just like with racism, there's old-fashioned and modern sexism, and it's pretty much exactly the same thing. So the idea behind old-fashioned sexism is this explicitly anti-women stance, such as women are unintelligent or incompetent. And the idea behind modern sexism is that sexism is really not a problem and people should stop bringing it up. And there's, of all things, a Pantene commercial that I think does a really good job of explaining the kinds of sexism that women can experience even today, that is this unquestioned kind of sexism, but that women have to overcome. So go ahead and watch this commercial, and then when you're finished, come back. So you can see from that commercial that while, for example, both a man and a woman are talking to a group, the man might have receive positive attributions for his behavior, and the woman might receive negative attributions for her behavior, even if they're saying and doing the same things. And that would be considered sexist, because doing the same things but receiving different outcomes is an example of discrimination. Ambivalent sexism is composed of hostile sexism and benevolent sexism. Hostile sexism, that women are inferior, is essentially identical to old-fashioned sexism, and I'll never ask you to distinguish between hostile and old-fashioned sexism. Benevolent sexism says that women are delicate and must be protected, and while that sounds great, the problem is if you protect women so much that they are never challenged, then they never have an opportunity to grow. And growth is important for us to become good at things. And so benevolent sexism prevents women from being able to become good at things. So let's look at how hostile sexism and benevolent sexism can manifest. So we want to know, why can't a woman be a CEO? Well, if it's for a hostilely sexist reason, it's because somebody would say she wouldn't think like a man would. And implicit in that is the idea that men are better at being CEOs than women. And so that's this idea that women are inferior. And so that's a hostilely sexist reason. A benevolently sexist reason would be because she was protected from challenging experiences and didn't get the experience. So, for example, if there are two managers at a company and there's an employee who's creating problems, if one manager is the male and the other manager is the female, if the man says, well, I'll go ahead and take care of this so you don't have to deal with it, because I'm sure, this would be kind of challenging for you and I don't want you to have to deal with somebody who's really negative. Well, the problem is then that woman never has the opportunity to deal with employees who are causing problems. And so she's missing a huge part of her leadership skills because she never gets a chance to use them and practice them. And so she's going to hit a point where those leadership skills or those lack of leadership skills are going to be a problem for her, and she won't be able to be a CEO. Let's look at another situation. Specifically, let's look at how women should be portrayed in ads. So, for hostile sexism, one way that you see hostile sexism manifested a lot is you see women portrayed as sex objects. And this is pretty much everywhere. And so I'm going to have you watch kind of a funny ad. It's not really an ad, it's a comparison of different ads. And it switches the men's and the women's roles. And it's kind of funny, but I guess I would say also thought-provoking, because you think about what it seems like when the roles are reversed. So go ahead and watch this and come back to the video when you're ready. Okay, so this ad is kind of silly because it just seems so weird to watch the men acting like women as sex objects. And so the point is that for women, it's really unquestioned when we see them behaving like sex objects. But for men, when we see them behaving like sex objects, it seems kind of campy and strange. And that's why it's sexism, because you get one outcome or one reaction when it's a woman doing it and a different reaction when it's a man doing it, when it's the exact same thing. And benevolent sexism can be manifested in advertisements when they portray women as helpless and overwhelmed. And a really great example of this is the campaign for Scottish independence put out this ad. And just to give you a little bit of background, there are many of you who don't know anything about the Scottish campaign for independence. There was a referendum to split off Scotland from the United Kingdom. So Scotland would be effectively its own country. And this ad is being put out by people who want Scotland to stay a part of the United Kingdom. So go ahead and watch it, and when you're ready, come back and we'll talk about it. So you can see from this ad that she is really being portrayed as just being, there's just only so many hours in a day that you can do things, and it's kind of confusing, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That is benevolent sexism all over the place. So here is a slide that talks about male privilege, just like we talked about white privilege. Please pause it, and then when you're ready, we'll talk about it. So the same thing applies for male privilege as applies for white privilege. So for male privilege, men can feel like it doesn't really exist because they're not aware of it. But they can also have problems because there are some women who kind of accuse men of being perpetrators of male privilege, and that they actively go out and seek male privilege. And both perspectives, while they must be respected because it's people's opinions, are problematic for creating discussion where you can actually hear what other people are saying. So the same thing applies to this as it applied to the white privilege. Just try and hear when other people are talking about it. And so for the men in class, what I would like you to do to be aware of male privilege is one of the major things for male privilege is this idea of safety, and that women generally have to be aware of safety issues much more than men do. So for the next couple of days, whenever you are by yourself, and or if it's dark, I want you to think about how safe you feel, and think about how safe you would feel if you were a woman, or if you were even, let's say, wearing some high heels or things like that would make it harder for you to defend yourself. So just over the next couple of days, think about those kinds of feelings and how not having to feel that way might in some ways contribute to male privilege.